Welcome to Wednesday Web Chat. This is Carl Lewis, your host from Vision 33. Our guest today, two of them, will be from FocusPoint, and we're going to be talking about some new things and new features that they've been working on recently. So now we're going to look to our guests, Craig Stockmal and Charles Robinson from Focus, on what's new with FocusPoint, guys. Let me be sure that I stop sharing and you start sharing here, all right?
Thank you, Carl. I really appreciate being on again. We're always honored to spend time with you and sharing what we've been doing at FocusPoint and sharing it with your customers and on this webcast. As you know, with FocusPoint, we've talked about it in the past. We're dedicated to the SAP Business One space, and we're an e-commerce solution that is a certified SAP add-on that operates within SAP Business One. So our mission is not only to follow the SAP roadmap, but also have customer input as far as how they would like us to navigate development of our platform. And one of the things that we hear on a consistent basis is we continually want to provide businesses with the opportunity to improve the customer experience. So a lot of our initiatives are related to improving the customer experience. And for us, it's twofold. One, on the ordering options, giving them more ways to order, easier ways to order. Many times in the B2B space, there's many more complexities than the B2C space. So the improved options of ordering are very, very important. And the other part of it is self-servicing the relationship that they have. No two business relationships are alike. We feel it's really important to provide as much information online so that customers can self-service their relationship. It enhances client care, and it solidifies the relationships between businesses for a long-term basis. So I'm joined by Charles Robinson, our Chief Technology Officer, who has built some unique functionality that we're really proud to share with you today. And Charles is going to go through some use cases about how businesses are both improving the customer experience on the ordering side and on the servicing side. So I'm going to turn it over to Charles.
Thanks, Craig. Pleasure to speak to everybody today. I'm going to go through a series of live examples and demonstrate some of the latest capabilities here, as Craig just mentioned. So when it comes to ordering, we're trying to really focus on enriching that customer experience. So that involves things like visuals. So with Jerry Pate, we'll pick on them to start with. You know, they have your typical navigation system. They have your typical order pads. But they've done a great job including some order by visual. So in any business where you're selling complex bill of materials, parts, those kind of things, we have some new great options. So if I was to go in here and look at any manufacturer, again, this is all powered by SAP Business One. So if I came in and looked at just some hydraulic brakes or this reel mower, I'm going to be able to get all my PDFs. Now, some of these are integrated with third-party systems that basically have the OEMs upload the PDFs. Some of it's managed by the client. There's different options. But what you get from there is a very enriched experience here where you can order, again, by diagrams. There's a few different ways that this can be implemented as well. So some of them will work more like a heat map, and some will just be kind of numbered like this, and you're going to have your bill of materials over here on the right. The idea here is that when you do your production bill of materials or your sales bill of materials, the suggested quantities that are needed in that assembly are going to be listed out already preloaded. One of the other important factors is some of the things that you don't see when you're looking at a screen like this. So we've greatly enhanced our product successor logic. So as years pass, different models, different components, they get swapped out. And this is going to lead into our service call enhancements later in this call. But effectively, you have a lot of these assemblies or models, fixed assets. They start with a set bill of materials, and then they go out. And the idea here is that I have a 2021 model, Honda, whatever it may be, and I'm able to replace the part. If those parts get deprecated or basically they're marked as obsolete and a successor is labeled in SAP Business One, the system will notify the customer and automatically do that replacement. And it can go as far down the line as necessary. So again, when you look at a visual like this, things like, well, if we're out of this parts in this business partner's warehouse, then skip to the next successor or compatible supplier part that is available in the warehouse. So there's a lot of different configurable options, in these kind of solutions beyond just what you see on the screen. So there's a lot of intelligence. Again, this is all, the integration is all powered by Saltbox here. We have all the workflows configured, and it's all white glove. So when you implement something like this, it's a focus on the diagram and a focus on the user experience because the integration is kind of already there. So this is just kind of one way to look at a bill of materials. Another way, which is a bit interesting, we've done this lately, is there's a lot of people out there with catalogs. So you have all these rich catalogs. A lot of times, depending on the business, they can be sent to, different dealers who are going to be buying. And this is often how they present. And some people have put a lot of time into building these PDFs. So we've developed a technology that can overlay these PDFs and directly integrate to FocusPoint. So again, the screen and what you're looking at is not as important as the idea behind it. So I have all these parts that are also listed on a website. And then I have a heat map. Notice how my mouse turns into a little hand when I go over a different option. So if I wanted to, I can directly click. I'm just going to add this in a new tab just to kind of illustrate this. This is YG1. It'll take me right to that product page. And if I want, I can even add it directly to the cart. So this is another way that we've just come out with where we can support people with complex PDF catalogs that have wide distribution and make that now available to be ordered off of. So while we're on here, just a few kind of a quick hits. I mean, just to see some of the power of FocusPoint, right from here, I can see that this particular product is sold in a pack of 10. When it comes to unit of measures, anything that's in SAP, whether it's using your vanilla unit of measure way to store in SAP, or you've done some UDFs and things like that, all those kind of variants are supported. So here I have a pack of 10. It's $6.50 each, or I can get a pack, for 65. But just, when it comes to pricing, everything is sourced out of SAP B1. So as complex as SAP can price with period and volume discounts, discount groups, blanket agreements, all those kind of things are incorporated in here. They do a great job, for an example, just showing the stock availability in the Canada warehouse versus their other warehouses. Again, there's a lot of logic tied in behind the scenes to these kind of things, and they're showing the lead times as well. If you've listened to previous casts in the past, you probably heard us talk about available to promise and different kind of options like that. Those, of course, are all still here and also have been enhanced. While I have the eyes of folks here, just a reminder that everything on the product page is sourced out of SAP Business One. We add in our user-defined objects, user-defined tables and fields to extend the item master, extend the business partner master. And then all this information, not just data, but we've created all these workflows in Saltbox so that we can provide meaning and turn these things into faceted search, things like that to enhance the on-site search capability and really kind of round out the offering. So along the lines of, I'm just going to go back here into my Jerry Pate here. So when we're talking about bill of materials, everyone has a slightly different flavor they need to see something as. And I want to make it clear that, the more traditional approaches are also supported. If I look at something like this tsunami filtration package, there's some complex parts. This basically moves water and air. I still have my standard way to do things. So depending on who's logged in, so I'm a business partner logged in, I'm getting my prices, and this is the availability at my warehouse. So everything that I'm seeing here is available for me to purchase. So I can still have the traditional grid style where I can go down and I can just directly order off parts. And even on this, this imagery here, we can make this heat map enabled too. So, with FocusPoint and bill of materials, there's an enormous amount of configuration available. And really, it's just now we have this down to a point because we have so many variants. It could be configured very, very fast. And of course, all the bill of materials is already flowing out of SAP Business One via Saltbox right into FocusPoint. So all this information is already here for you. We've also expanded since our last podcast into a few more convenient ways to order. So this is a great Vision customer here at Dynaline that has recently gone live. So here's an example of one of their order paths. Yeah, they have the traditional way to navigate through. You can go through, you can see all the products, and they have, of course, the order pads, all that kind of stuff. But they did a special one. And this one here is repeatable products. So they can just upload an Excel file and they can have this kind of permanently embedded into their system, and it's available for automatic reorder. All right, so wanted to show this screen. This is, again, a configuration. It's stuff that was already there in FocusPoint, and their business requirements just allowed us to assemble it in a unique way where we could provide this kind of experience. So they can still go through, again, still do all the types of standard ways to order, but they were able to put this screen together themselves. So just wanted to mention that. Again, here's an example of some of the faceted search that you can get with FocusPoint. Again, the B2B experience, very, very heavily using the catalog view that is so popular, made by Amazon. So a way to categorize your products. Again, we've seen countless times where we've had the order pads, barcode scanning, all those kind of things, but increasingly popular is that catalog style navigation. But of course, every business is unique, and you have to do what makes sense for the company. So along the lines of bill of materials, I'm going to now just shift into a bit of kind of service call discussion here. So I'm just going to bring up the Sioka portal. So this is an automotive example. We have several clients that use our service calls. The background to this is, again, you place a service call out in FocusPoint. Saltbox will send that right into SAP Business One, and then bring back all the details of the service call as it gets updated. And I'm going to talk about how we can take it one step farther, with some of this functionality. So in this case here, I'm just going to go ahead and click on my service. This is also a configurable screen. In fact, I should mention that everything that I'm showing you here today is configurable, not customizable. So with almost no effort at all, the UI can kind of be optimized however the client likes. We do try to match the brand. We actually do match the brand and try to always choose a good layout that matches the company harmony, or their feeling, their atmosphere. And of course, the full front end is available. We are completely headless. If you look at that technology term, we use headless technology. So the front end is completely separate from the actual business layer technology. So sky's the limit in terms of UI. So if I jump into my service here, I'm going to grab my tab, request a service. The looks can be very nice and clean like this. This scales down very nice. It's used a lot on mobile devices. So there is a mobile app, but also if you just have like an iPhone or an iPad, it also scales very well on that. So here I'm just going to go down and fill some of this information out. A lot of the key data fields in SAP come out of the box already exposed enough to actually create this service call. So here, if I just put on service, establish a priority, I could choose a machine if I had one at this location, but I don't have to. So I'm just going to go ahead and just type in, something like testing here, enter my request, and this will be automatically sent into SAP. We do have a full schedule available that can show when things are scheduled and a full service history. Now, after this, of course, when you have a service call, the idea here is that you'll create work orders and you basically have internal employees, or you may get external vendors to go out and basically do maintenance or work or do something to fulfill the service call. And on the agenda, I put this preventative maintenance component because this is an area that we've actually been servicing for quite some time, that we've now completely kind of dovetailed into the service call component. So the situation here would be, maybe I have a fixed asset. Like, for example, I did a service call against some type of stationary machine. With that, once the folks get on site, there is now a set of e-forms that we've created. And this is kind of the bedrock of this first dashboard here. I can go along and select through my addresses, my locations, and I'm going to just switch to an actual live client implementation of this to show you here. So if I jump into my dashboard here, this is this folks layout. Again, I'm picking who I'm targeting for this service call and picking a location. And at this moment, I can go in and do direct work, but I'm going to just take a little shortcut here and jump into a piece of work already underway. So the form represents a series of tasks or activities that are aligned back to some kind of work order that's tied to a service call. So if I want to go ahead, I'm just going to go ahead and continue this one, and then I can talk more in depth here. These screens basically are made up to actually execute on the service call. So preventative maintenance effectively has often a set of ANSI standards or some kind of compliance cross checks, those kind of things. So you create these forms, and in this case here, they're used in the automotive. And the idea here is that you go through, on the left-hand side, all the kind of compliance checks that you need. So there could be daily maintenance, monthly, annual, whatever it may be. So if that service call is dispatched where I need to have some maintenance done on this, and a vendor comes in, they can have special access here into this viewpoint, and they can perform their work. Now, this is quite powerful here because they can create new tasks. They can even start building quotes. So the idea is when folks are coming in that are external, they're doing the first case assessment on the service call. It doesn't mean that they're the ones who are going to repair it if it needs repair, or they're going to be the ones swapping the parts if they're just there for an assessment. So they can still do an exact quote. So they can issue it from, they say, well, I need to replace on this particular asset, I need to replace it with this particular product. I can attach it to a bill of materials. And again, the intent of today is not to get into the granular weeds of this. It's just to scratch the surface, let everyone know that we have a very in-depth enterprise solution that's out there, integrated to SAP Business One, that's enhancing and enriching the service calls, with Saltbox. So if I go ahead and I start finishing all these kind of checklists, best to say, then I'll have these quotes at the end of it. And with those quotes, they're going to be submitted for approval. And there's an enormous amount of workflow that can take place after that. So the tasks themselves, in terms of, who should be doing what, these are getting created during the actual service itself. So when the tech or whoever's on site, they're filling as much of this out as they can. Not to delve into detail here, but there is the qualification aspect that we've also incorporated. So if a field tech requires a certain level of qualification, they can have that set as well. The customer who's also using this is also using the SAP Field Service app. So they work very, very well together. So that's just scratching the surface. If there's questions that are formulated in the chat, I guess Carl will get to that here shortly. Continuing on, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the visual enhancements that we've made to the platform. So we have kind of repositioned our whole CMS component where we've made it even easier beyond what we had before to now create extremely rich UIs with very little effort. No developer. One of the challenges you hear people say, well, they call it WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. I want to create pages. And while the drag and drop stuff is great, it's generally only targeting one real estate. So I can drag stuff around and I can make a page that looks great on the desktop, but it might not look so great on other real estates. So we've gone ahead and done a lot of enhancements around that. And we've made it very easy to create rich UI in multiple UIs simultaneously. And I'm just showing you just like one example of a customer that has gone through this exercise and enhanced this. And as you can see, things are lightning fast with FocusPoint. We're hosted out on Microsoft Azure. We have geo redundancy, top tier disk, those kind of things, making sure that the service is delivered in the most efficient way possible here. So just to kind of just show you here again what is possible without a developer. These are the kind of things that you can achieve. Again, all these customers are SAP B1 customers, all their data stored in SAP B1, and the marketing collateral and those kind of things, they get stored out in FocusPoint. That's non kind of item master specific. So those are some of the kind of key updates and enhancements that have been done since the last meeting. Carl, so is there any questions we can jump into those?
Yeah, I did have one, which was, I think when you were showing the service call functionality and just kind of tracking that, the question was, is there a scheduling board of some sort?
There is a scheduling board. So we might have to preview that in the next iteration, or if you schedule a demo, we can show that. So in this particular case, Sioka has a third-party system that's doing the scheduling, but we do have a scheduling board. So we'll show that in the next one. However, it is immediately available right now. So any specific sales rep who wants to get in touch with us, we can schedule a demo of that within a day to show that off.
Great, that's good. I don't see any other questions. Please type them in if you do have some that we can ask the guys while they're here. It just seems like you guys have added quite a bit, and I like some of the extra functionality that I'm seeing. As Craig mentioned, it sounds like you're listening to your customers and sort of adding the kind of things that they're requesting. Is that where most of your ideas are coming from?
They are absolutely. Our customer roadmap is really driven by two factors. You have your external market influencers, and then you have your customers. And the customers are the primary driver. This whole, I've showed this before, but just in case there's anybody new to this, the product configurators, we get asked about this all the time, all the time. This is where, hey, I got these. The bill of materials is just too complicated to know all the possible permutations. And at the top of the call, we talked a lot about those bill of materials. And, with those e-forms, we're seeing it on service calls, registration forms. This is no different. And this particular product configurator solution has grown greatly. So this is one that I've showed in, I think, the last call. However, there's been a lot of enrichment done to this, especially around the warehousing tie-in. So here the possible permutations is around, 50 million when I'm configuring all the possible options. And it's just like buying a computer, right? Well, this RAM's not compatible with that motherboard or this and that. So as I go down through this, I'm going to get options that are changing, and it's going to build out a manifest on the right. And we've had customers take this and put all different types of spin on it and have created some incredible solutions with our product configurator. So much that also we've even had some done on the mobile side. Well, just to mention that, like I mentioned, that the solution's headless. So when you have FocusPoint, you also have access directly to the API layer. So if you had other solutions that you're trying to, say, get in touch with SAP, you have Saltbox, of course, but if the data is sitting in FocusPoint, you can hit our REST API and get everything that you would need. And if it needs to come from SAP, well, it's going to pull it through Saltbox anyway. So there's been some pretty neat solutions developed by some customers through that. And again, all this is now available through the API. So when we showed it before a few months ago on the podcast, it was just, it's in FocusPoint. I can create all these type of things. And then when it goes into SAP Business One, I can optionally create a sales bill of material or a production bill of material, or just let it write all the lines out. That was an option. And now further, we've extended this functionality out to our API, which means now it can be used in the direct mobile interfaces, or third-party applications can now extract and use the product configurator.
And I think, the configurator is something we over the years have gotten asked about a lot. And this is certainly a great approach to it. And because it's all, there's a lot of self-service, involved here, right? So, and that's really hard to accomplish. So you guys have done a great job with this. I mean, this is, tightly, integrated to SAP Business One's, production at this point, because you can choose a production bill of materials. Have you guys thought of any other new ways that you're sort of thinking of out there to further integrate with production?
Project-based is definitely one. So where there's an actual project where there's going to be multiple things that have to be built, and they're time sensitive between them. So we're working on something right now that is kind of along those lines.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, and that's where we get in, and some of them are important because they get into lot, batch, and expiry. So the timing of when the production bill of materials starts has tight dependencies on other items required. So we're into that project. I can't discuss too much about it right now, but that's some things that we're exploring right now around the production bill of materials side. And it gets heavy into batch. So I mean, in terms of our batch functionality, I'm just thinking of it now, wasn't on the agenda, but I mean, we deal in a lot of pharmaceutical type stuff now. It seems to be just a heavily expanded area in SAP Business One. We've seen a lot of people move from other platforms to SAP. Just forget FocusPoint for a moment. Just move to SAP Business One in that pharmaceutical industry. So, and we've picked up several and very, very interesting challenges that we've kind of moved in, although not discussed in depth today, but it's really kind of pushed the whole lot expiry batch capabilities. So for any listeners who have customers that are kind of in that sector, definitely definitely talk to us about those kind of capabilities.
That's great. That's really great. It definitely is a growing marketplace for Business One, that's for sure. Once you start dealing with that, many of those pharmaceutical companies, have a need to kind of track, quality and testing and things like that. And Business One's not particularly strong in that area, at least, out of the box. Are you guys, are you doing anything special for those companies as it relates to, quality testing and things of that nature?
So not the product itself, because, for pharmaceutical, there's a lot of established QA procedures. And, when I look at the competitors of SAP, it's not necessarily a good fit for ERP, but there are some specialty products for that. However, when it comes to the management aspect of it, in terms of when we're trying to sell, like, those kind of serialized inventory, those lots, making kind of that, first in, first out approach when it comes to order fulfillment and how we manipulate the sales orders, we're definitely doing that, Carl. So if we have a series of batches, configurable, of course, the expired, the shortest expiry is the one that we're pushing on the sales orders to actually, for the pick pack to get those first. And surprisingly, not just pharmaceutical, we're actually doing this in the food industry as well. that's another great growth area of SAP Business One, is in the foods market. It's happening a lot there. So we're seeing a lot of, farm fresh and those kind of things really kind of explode, actually, is probably the appropriate term. And those kind of expiry dates, while they're not done in batch or lot, it's pushing that model where it's becoming more important to manage at the lot level or the expiry level of the batch than it is the items itself.
Yeah.
So, and also the warehouse distribution aspect of that. So, I think before I showed 100 km on the previous one, they've actually, let's see here, they've actually done a lot of optimizations around their warehousing. They have multiple warehouses, and they've adjusted where they're keeping their stock of the items that, like produce, for example. So they're adjusting their business model accordingly for the more dense areas, and they sell a lot in the greater Toronto area, it's called, the most populated city in Canada. So they have different kind of centers kind of set up where they're able to properly stock and then allocate the produce that's expiring first out. And we're seeing these kind of, these kind of business challenges all over the place. So yeah, so that's just a reminder. Again, we've shown some of this stuff in the past, for those who are kind of seeing FocusPoint for the first time. As you can see, we're in a lot of different industries. However, we have very complex, routing, DoorDash and these kind of solutions have really risen up, where basically it's all delivered to your door and it's time sensitive, or we're picking up and you got to pick up within this 15-minute window, down so much, where if you have certain frozen foods that are coming in a couple of days and you're putting like canned goods and stuff, you'll get recommendations on how to get everything kind of in one order and what the best time is, right? So very, very robust pickup time capabilities are incorporated as well. And this is just, again, SAP's got the data. FocusPoint is enhancing that information to make it easier for consumers to make intelligent purchases. And there's, clear evidence of, customer loyalty coming out of that. So transparent, that people know that they're getting, they can get everything on Wednesday, or sorry, they can get a certain amount on Wednesday, but if they wait till Thursday, they can get all the stuff that they want. Seeing that is really helped these guys. And again, it's all just configuration.
It's pretty great. Absolutely. There are definitely, there's a lot of businesses that operate on FIFO. I would say in the early years of SAP Business One, that was not the case. Maybe we just weren't going after those industries. I personally worked in one for about 10 years. It was the oil distributorship business. And you'd be surprised at how important, the age of an oil-based product is in its life cycle, and how it degrades over time. Right, so getting it to the off the shelf and in use you definitely want to operate on a FIFO basis and know where all the old stuff is all the time, because once it reached a certain point, it was basically just junk, at that point. So it was really important. Well, guys, thanks so much for this update. Great to see what you're doing and how the product is continuing to add functionality and serviceability for Vision 33 customers for sure. And we're happy to be partnering with FocusPoint because of that type of intelligence and that type of commitment to the customer and listening to what they want and coming through. So congratulations. Hopefully we'll have you back again in the future and continue to check in with you on at least a once a year basis about what is new with FocusPoint, and look forward to the next time, and look forward to the next time we get to be together in person too. That'll be great.
Thank you, Carl. Really appreciate the opportunity today. And we look forward to talking to you soon.
All righty. Take care, and we'll see all of you on the next edition of Wednesday Web Chat.